Fulton coming to you on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got plenty to get to today. The madness is beginning. That is right. NCAA tournament started up last night, and Fulton, your robot beings, your artificial intelligent number crunchers are 2-0.
Never doubt the numbers until the numbers completely screw you over and they don't follow right, because that's what's going to happen tonight. Because I am 2-0. Thanks to Boyditology. Shout out Evan Boyd, Brendan's best man, who created the program that I think Brendan also used to make decisions last night. We're 2-0 on it. I have used it again tonight, and I would probably go 0-2.
We got a lot to get to today. We are going to hear from Norm Roberts, and in fact, Norm Roberts just sat down. And I don't know if you know this, but Norm Roberts is not Bill Self. Bill Self
are two different people
in Des Moines, but let's go real quick to Norm Roberts sitting down a little bit earlier. But this is Norm Roberts live from Des Moines and his press conference as he is filling in for Bill Self right now.
Welcome back to Des Moines, Coach.
Well, we love coming here. Des Moines has been very good to us, and we know all the best places to eat. So it's been good.
This time we'll take questions. Please raise your hand. We have a microphone holder. Front row, left side.
Hey, Coach. Scott Reese, KCTV5. Two-part question. First, as a guy who's been around and doing this as long as you have, maybe just some perspective on how difficult it is to defend a national title.
Well, it is difficult, but you know, the tough thing is that when you're at Kansas, I shouldn't say the tough thing. The good thing is when you're at Kansas, you're always getting everybody's best shot every single time you play. So it's just added on to us being national champions and those things. And we haven't really talked about that a ton. What we've talked about is staying in the moment and playing for now. This is a different team. What we accomplished last year was fantastic. We enjoy it. We're honored by it, but we also understand it's a whole new situation.
If you'll indulge me one more kind of big picture, how has it been so, I don't want to say seamless, but you lose 70% of your production from a national title team, and yet here you are, number one seed. That's not easy to do. How has this group been able to kind of pick up where you left off and make it look seamless?
Well, it's not seamless, but I would say, you know, our motto at our place is faces change, expectations don't. And our guys understand that. We know, and the one thing that we have is, you know, we have a great coach, and he utilizes his team in the best way, and he figures out a way that's going to be best for that particular group. We played a certain way last year that was very good for that team, and this year we had to tweak things and play a little bit differently. And Coach Self is never afraid to do anything like that, and our guys have really responded.
I'm going to stay on the left side. Go ahead.
I'm David Lawrence, Jayhawk Radio. Just talk about finally getting out of the conference and playing someone else, and a rundown of Coach Blakeney's team. Obviously, they like to get out and run and shoot threes. And do they remind you of any conference team?
I don't know if they remind you of any conference team, but the one thing they are is they're very, very long. They're very long. They've got a lot of size on the perimeter. 6'9" settles, so they're big, and we've had to deal with that all season. They have an unbelievable point guard in Hawkins who he can shoot. He shoots 47% from the three, but he's an unbelievable quarterback, very similar to Juan. He gets the ball to the guys in the right position. Dockery is a tremendous shooter for them. Settles, made second team all conference. Elijah, first team all conference. So you're playing against a champion. You're playing against a team that knows how to win. You're playing against a team that's older and battle tested. So we know we're going to get their best shot. And, Coach Blakeney has done a great job. A great job with that program, and they're playing really well right now.
Front row.
Harry Bedard, KC Star. Coach, What's the condition of Coach Self, and do you expect he'll coach tomorrow? And how is he today? And I have a follow-up.
He's doing well. Today was at practice. Today was at practice last night in all of our meetings. He's doing well. He's getting better all the time. We're hopeful, and everything is day to day with him. But he if you ask our guys, he got after him pretty good today. So he was doing really well.
And what about Grady Dick and Kevin McCullers' physical condition updates?
Both guys practiced full speed today and had great bounce to them. So they're both doing well.
On the left side on the aisle.
Nick Springer, Rock Chalk Sports Talk. Coach, how much do you think Big 12 conference play has helped prepare your team for making a deep tournament run this year?
Well, in the Big 12, you're going to play against all styles. You'll play against zone. You'll play against man. You'll play against physicality. You'll play against speed. You'll play against size. So you're going to get the gamut of everything. So hopefully that has prepared us for the tournament. It's one of those things that in our league, it was a battle every single night, no matter where you were, home or away. And hopefully that'll help us in the tournament.
Question on the back corner, and then we're move up there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Eric Olson with the Associated Press. I just wanted to follow up on Coach Self. Was his absence today from the media stuff, is that just because he's just recuperating and tired, or could you just kind of talk about that?
Oh, he's getting his rest. He's getting his rest and that stuff. So maybe he thinks that I talk too much, so he's letting me talk more. So, but he's just back getting some rest right now. He's doing good, though.
I know I'm Will Kennedy with the Des Moines Register. Joseph obviously played in Des Moines for a little bit, played at Drake. I don't want you to speak for Coach Self, but when he entered the transfer portal, what did you guys as a staff see in him to make him want to come to Kansas?
Well, we saw explosiveness, scoring ability. Obviously that dunk he had was the big show of the NCAA tournament that year. And Joe has done good for us. He has done good for us. He supplies a spark off the bench, both offensively and defensively.
Other questions? We have about 4 minutes left here. Left side, back row.
Dan Lucero, WWW Topeka. Obviously, last year you guys went into the NCAA tournament on the high of having won the Big 12 tournament, used that momentum to win the national championship. This year you come in having lost in the Big 12 championship game. How can you use that, the lessons from that defeat, as a positive and kind of spin that as a positive way to go into the tournament, having learned lessons from loss in that way?
Well, you can do a lot by learning from sometimes failure or a lack of success. And we realized there were some things that we did in those games, or in that game particularly, that we need to get better at. And we didn't defend. We didn't play. We had really played well defensively the first two games. And the last game, we did not come out with that mindset. And if you don't come out with that mindset against a good team and a talented team as Texas is, you're going to put yourself behind the eight ball. And we did. And then as the game went on, I thought we got a little fatigued. And then we made some ill-advised mistakes at the end of the shot clock, and they took advantage of it. So give them a lot of credit with what they did. But we've already been able to watch film, look at that, and say, hey, this is where we got to get better.
So that is the press conference of Norm Roberts as he is finishing up. Once again, Norm Roberts, not Bill Self. And so you heard there from Norm Roberts. And that was one of the big things that I was interested in. We talked about this yesterday after the show going, all right, the KU media portion is right around noon. Is that going to be Bill Self? Is that going to be Norm Roberts? And it ends up being Norm Roberts. Now, he was at practice last night. At practice today, and Norm Roberts, and this is what he thinks. This is all we can go on, that he got after him pretty good. So I don't think he's coaching tomorrow. I don't. I'm gonna just that's a hunch. That's just a guess. If I were Bill Self, I would look at this as take it day by day. I mean, that's what we're doing. You don't need Bill Self for Howard. I'm sorry, Howard. Great.
Not to be disrespectful towards you, but
no.
Then
you got another day because you heard then Norm Roberts say, well, how come Self's not doing the media today? One, he's resting right now. And every single question is going to be about, well, when did you feel your the heart tension? When did you feel the tightness and the pain? And you went there, and what were you thinking? Were you scared? Were you nervous? I mean, no question is going to be hardly about basketball, because it's just going to ask about self and something that, he eventually will have to answer to when you're the highest paid public employee in the state of Kansas. I mean, that's just the way it works. And so, but he was at practice. I would assume, hey, take it another day off tomorrow. Just watch the game from either the locker room or wherever. And then Friday, do the same type of situation. Yes, I think KU's going to beat Howard. They're not Tony Bennett and the Virginia Cavaliers. And then maybe he goes on Saturday against either Illinois or Arkansas. Maybe you say, let's just keep him off his feet this entire week, because we're not talking about basketball here. You're talking about a guy's life.
Yeah, there's no reason for Bill to rush back into coaching his team in the tournament off of a procedure that we still know the full details of. We don't know everything, but we can make some good judgments.
We know that he had a heart cath, and we know that he got 2 stents put in. I mean, I've known people who have had now every situation is different, folks, and I understand that. And we know that some people heal quicker than others, right? I've known people who have gotten stents put in, and 2 weeks later, they still have no energy.
Yeah.
They still can't do much. Okay. Maybe this is a different situation. Maybe it's not as severe. He did not have technically what is called a heart attack. This legal jargon and all of that. It was not a heart attack. They went in, did the heart cath, went in through, the arm or wherever they went through, and then did the whole look around and said, oh, we got to do something here. What they did was to prevent the heart attack. And so that's the reason why. Maybe it's because he didn't have technically a heart attack, but you had something altered with your heart. That's not like it's nothing. And so that's why, you got him. Hey, he's going to help out, but maybe for a practice is only an hour long and it's not as tension. It would not stun me if he's not there coaching this entire week. And then next week he will be able to. That'd be 2 weeks. It just depends on how he feels. Norm Roberts is not going to give you the truth. He's feeling better, and he might be feeling better, but he might, the way how he's feeling better, that could be relative to whereas.
Yeah, I was to say feeling better is always a relative term.
Yeah. So
like if you're, if you were at a 2% one day and you're at a 6% the next day, you are feeling better.
Yes.
Like that term can still apply to you, even though you still feel like absolute death. So no, there's no reason for Self to rush back in this situation. Because one, you don't need Bill Self on the sideline to beat Howard. Like that's just not a thing. And so take it day by day. If he feels good enough to coach against Illinois, Arkansas coming up on Saturday, have him coach on Saturday.
Yep.
If he still isn't feeling it, then there is no situation, and this applies to all sports. This doesn't apply to Bill Self. Like all sports. There is no game big enough for you to risk the long-term effect of your life. Like, there is no reason, a round of 32 matchup is not worth it for Bill Self to put more strain on himself physically just to do that. Where, just sit at home, man, just sit back in the hotel. And because we've all seen Bill Self on a sideline. He gets angry and animated when his team does the slightest thing wrong.
Yes.
Not good for your heart. Stress is the thing you should be avoiding. And so not coaching your team will help you avoid some stress, because Bill will get after those guys because he coaches hard. And because of that, stress is higher. So it's a whole thing. But
I would
be stunned if he's on the sideline tomorrow against Howard, which is fine.
Yeah. And then Arkansas to be determined the next week. I would think he'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
But it is a loss because he is a very good X's and O's coach.
Of course.
But if Marcus Sasser isn't playing for Houston, that is a much bigger loss for Houston than Bill Self is for KU. That's just Jimmy's and Joe's over X's and O's, okay? You got to have dudes. And the other thing that Norm Roberts said, Kevin McCullough and Grady Dick all full go in practice.
Yeah.
Now,
Kevin McCullough's back is apparently feeling a lot better.
If Kevin McCullough is not the Kevin McCullough coming up against Arkansas or Illinois, that is a problem.
Agreed.
Because Arkansas is a top 20 team. According to the numbers, they are a top 20 team. You need all of your assets going up against the top 20 team in Arkansas. I think Arkansas is better than Illinois, and I'm wondering who is favored in that one? Is it Arkansas?
In Illinois and Arkansas? I think it'd be Arkansas, but I've not actually looked at that line yet.
Because Illinois is ranked 33 according to the Ken Palm numbers, but I'm gonna guess that.
Let's take a look at good old NCAA tournament. It is Arkansas by 1.5.
By 1.5. I would figure that would be the
pretty
case.
much a toss-up.
So if you're going to need Kevin McCullough there. You are going to have to play very well to beat Arkansas if they play. The funny thing about Arkansas is Arkansas actually low-key pretty good on defense. You wouldn't think that because you think of them as high-flying, go offensively.
Helps when you have two of the better shot blockers in college basketball on your team at the same time.
Yes.
I think that's the normal problem KU has to play with Arkansas. Is getting inside is going to be a problem, which means KU has to make shots from outside, which, oh boy, have they struggled to do that at times this year.
Yeah. So
which means Grady Dick need to have a day.
Good to hear that Dick and McCullough are
important,
healthy, ready to go. Bill Self doing much better. That is great news. We are going to get to a lot of hoops. We'll talk a lot of free agency, good news and bad news for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get to that. All that coming up here at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk wide receivers. We're going to talk with the voice of Montana State. Get a little preview of the Bobcats coming up. Should be a lot of fun. That'll be coming up at 1 o'clock with Keaton Gilligy. We'll get with Keaton, and then we'll talk with Kellis Robinett. All that coming up today here on Mic'd Up. We'll get to some Chiefs news and notes. Colin Saunders heading to the Saints. That is right. We'll get to that. And the newest Chief, Charles Omenihu, we'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. But Fulton, the Royals did lose both games yesterday. And the reason why is because when you separate their powers, they are weaker.
Yeah, that happens when you do a split squad game, when your squad is already split from multiple players being in the World Baseball Classic.
So the Royals are back in action today, full squad. So I expect to win.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, now we're
it's spring training, Jake.
It took one day and two
they
split
can't
squad losses.
Win everything.
Wow.
Even the greatest listen, even the greatest teams lose 60.
Wow.
So they can't win everything. They don't need to win everything.
It's all right. Some more news though is that Bally Sports' parent company has officially claimed and filed for bankruptcy. Diamond Sports Group's bankruptcy declaration today is an unfortunate development, according to Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is ready to produce and distribute games to the fans in their local markets in the event that Diamond or any other regional sports network is unable to do so. Right now, Major League Baseball is saying that games will continue to be televised on Bally Sports. So if you have Bally Sports and the app, and you paid, the $15 a month or whatever it was, you will get the Royals. If you have Cox or DirecTV or wherever Bally Sports goes, you will get the Royals. It will still be on that same channel for now. It could change. We'll have to wait and see. But that has stayed the same. It will stay there. It's just they're filing for bankruptcy. Coming up, we'll talk all things NFL and Chiefs free agency. On Fulton Caster with you. We'll talk Bobcats of Montana State coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. But the news that many people were waiting for has now come to fruition. Aaron Rodgers intends to play for the New York Jets. He says that compensation is what needs to be figured out right now. According to Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show, when I went into the darkness, I was 90% retiring. When I came out, I heard from multiple people that the Packers were interested in moving me. So now he is going to play for the Jets. So the Jets have now signed Allen Lazard and Mercedes Lewis for Aaron Rodgers, essentially. I don't know if that means they're going to keep Elijah Moore, or are they going to keep, I'm assuming Garrett Wilson, he's really good, but who knows? I mean, if they're going to sign Randall Cobb as well, I mean, you can't have too many people there, but I do find it funny that Aaron Rodgers is like, gosh, the Packers don't give me anybody. They don't give me anything. They don't draft anybody. And then when he goes to the Jets, he's like, I want you to bring Allen Lazard, Mercedes Lewis, and Randall Cobb. Otherwise, I'm not going to join you. You do realize that Aaron Rodgers, Mercedes Lewis, Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard went, 8-9 last year, right? Like, I'm just pointing that out. Okay, real quick. So, Aaron Rodgers heading to the Jets.
Now,
what's going to
he wants to head to the Jets.
Well, he will. They just got to figure out compensation and how that's all going to work out. So he will be a Jet.
If I'm the Packers, I just keep asking for the moon.
So,
like, God, Jets, you want him? He's even said he wants to come play for you. You want him? Give me something good.
Yep. The discussions between the two things is holding up the deal. So that is interesting, which makes it what good quarterback outside of Jalen Hurts is in the NFC?
Well, let's run down the division quarterback, shall we, Jake? So this is going to be a fun exercise for
Okay.
us. So in the NFC East, we have Dak Prescott.
Okay.
We have Jalen Hurts. We have whatever's happening in Washington. We'll go with Sam Howell for now because I haven't heard them do anything else. We're going to go Sam Howell for now. And then we have, for the Giants, Daniel Jones.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts, best guy over there.
Jalen Hurts number 1, Dak number 2. All right, let's continue.
Let's go to the NFC North, where it's just become, my God, what is happening? We have Jordan Love now. We can add him to the QB1 mix. We have Justin Fields for now. We have Jared Goff for now.
Okay.
And we have Kirk Cousins.
So the answer is still Jalen Hurts 1, Dak Prescott 2, and
Kirk 3?
Kirk 3. Okay, let's continue.
All right, let's go to the NFC South. Truly, maybe the worst of all of this. We got Derek Carr.
Okay.
We got in Atlanta, Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ridder. Take your pick.
Yeah.
It's one of those two. In Carolina, we have, I don't know. I think they made some sort of move that was very... they added Andy Dalton. That's what I think they did. Good job. And then in Tampa, pick your poison between Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Make your pick.
So we're still at...
Jalen Dak. Well, where do you put Derek Carr in this? Where do you put Derek Carr?
Okay.
Because Derek Carr is beyond the best quarterback in the South. Like, it's a big gap.
So it still goes Jalen Hurts, Dak, and then Derek
I would
and
go Carr over Cousins?
Kirk are the same. Okay.
They're basically.
They're
okay.
a tie.
We have one division left, though. And, man, right now, not a lot of good-looking quarterbacks. Let's go to the NFC West, where, you know what, might be a little bit better. We have Matt Stafford. As long as he's healthy, we have Matt Stafford.
I don't know if he is, so can't put that in there.
Yeah, but for now, we'll go with Mr. Matt Stafford, a little stat Padford.
Okay.
We got Kyler Murray.
Okay, not a healthy guy coming off ACL.
We got Geno Smith.
Okay.
And then we got Trey Lance or Brock Purdy. We literally don't know.
My holy goodness, the third best quarterback in the NFC is Derek Carr.
Yes! Yes! I appreciate everyone going on that journey with me because that is my new favorite journey to take, which is play who are the best quarterbacks in the NFC. Because good Lord, it sucks.
Somebody trade for Lamar Jackson.
I need Lamar in the NFC just to add some fun.
No, but I'm talking about if you are in the NFC, this is your time to shine. You are literally a quarterback away from winning. Look at Lamar Jackson immediately becomes the second best quarterback in the NFC if he signs with an NFC team right this instant. Jalen Hurts will be number 1, but by the way, the Eagles are going to look a lot different.
They're losing basically every member of their defense.
Jonathan Hargrave gone. Darius Slay gone.
See ya.
Like they are losing a lot of their guys off the Super Bowl team, but the AFC's third best quarterback is Joe Burrow, who would be the best quarterback in the NFL. The top 3 AFC quarterbacks are better than the number 1 NFC quarterback. I like Jalen Hurts, but I would take Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and obviously Patrick Mahomes over Jalen Hurts. The question becomes, do you take Herbert over Jalen Hurts? Because I think Herbert is number 4. And then Lamar Jackson is 5. Like, there is a legitimate argument that the top 5 quarterbacks of the AFC are better than the top quarterback of the NFC.
Because you think about it, the AFC, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert is in there.
Lamar
for now is in there until he maybe goes somewhere else.
He's a Raven for now.
He's in there. In theory, Aaron Rodgers is there, and history says he should be good, but we don't know how that's going to turn out. But like, this is the AFC and NFC have right now the biggest quarterback gap I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
like this is insane right now. Like you have so many. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, if he keeps performing well, can be tossed into really good course. He was great last year. Like, every division in the AFC has at least one stud quarterback. Yeah, I want to make sure I'm not wrong in thinking incorrectly. No, every division in the AFC, there's one stud.
Yeah.
Because I think Lawrence can be counted as a stud.
Trevor Lawrence would be the second best quarterback in the NFC behind Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Because Kyler Murray's injured, Matt Stafford's injured, and I might even take Trevor Lawrence over those two. Yeah. And Trevor Lawrence is what? The sixth best quarterback in the AFC.
Probably.
Unless you're not high on Herbert. If you don't,
Which, I mean, it's fair. He hasn't won a playoff game, and Trevor has.
he beat Herbert.
Yeah, he beat Herbie. So,
Jeez Louise.
like, it's this, like, discrepancy is just crazy. Which, no disrespect to the AFC, I think there's going to be a little bit of a run on AFC Super Bowl champions because, I mean, the NFC might have some teams that have other pieces that are nicely built, but quarterback can just make the world go round, and it is not even close which conference has the best quarterbacks. It is not even a debate.
I have not determined whether or not Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers.
One, like, the fact of the matter, and I'm right there with you, because on one hand, his most recent season was bad. And it was a part of it, his team around him wasn't great. The other part was Aaron himself just looked bad.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron himself looked like a guy who's starting to lose the last few rounds to Father Time. But on the other hand, 2 years before that, he went back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah.
So, like,
we know, though, that
I'm out. I don't know.
Quarterbacks lose it quickly.
Yeah, quarterbacks can lose it in an instant.
And so I will say this. The Jets defense is better than the Packers defense.
Oh, that Jets defense is nasty.
And I think the Jets offense right now has better pieces. I think if Breece Hall can come back, Breece Hall's pretty good.
Yep.
Garrett Wilson's pretty good. Elijah Moore, Alan Lazard. This is all about, and they're got Nathaniel Hackett is back with the Jets.
But then the problem here's the fun thing for Aaron to be in the Jets, because his goal is always going to be from now on in perpetuity until he hangs it up in a couple of years, is win Super Bowls.
No, it's to win MVPs. We told him, he said to win individual awards as well.
Well, that's also true. Good luck, Aaron, because yes, I you know what, you got out of there. You can go finish where you want to finish. Cool. In your own division, you now have to get past Josh Allen and the Bills, who are usually very consistently good.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. Miami's loading up to try and be good, and they have plenty of talent. They could be good. New England, yeah, you can stomp all over them. That's getting funny. But cool, Aaron. All right. You get through two toughest teams in your division. Congrats. You know what you now have to do to even get to a Super Bowl chance, or hell, even to win MVP? Go beat the new best quarterback in the NFL. Good luck, Aaron. Enjoy.
Go beat the Bengals. Go beat the Chiefs, and then go beat the Jags.
There is a legit chance where for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers to get to a Super Bowl, they are de facto essentially going through the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals.
Yeah.
And I guess Cincinnati might fall off a little bit because their defense is going to have to undergo a major change right now.
Mm-hmm.
They got the guy at quarterback, which makes me always think they're going to have a chance. Good luck, Aaron. Enjoy, buddy.
I don't even know if he's that dude.
Good luck, because winning a title in the AFC is a lot harder than the NFC right now.
I want to go to the Kansas City Chiefs, and they did make a move last night. The Chiefs are signing Charles Omenihu for a 2-year, $16 million contract, max of 20 with incentives. Now, here is the dossier on Charles Omenihu.
Very fun name. I'm going to love getting to say it a bunch.
There's some good and some bad. All right. Charles Omenihu last year played for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd played with Houston his rookie year in 2019, had 3 sacks. 2020, he had 4 sacks. Then in 2021, he did nothing. He was traded from Houston to San Francisco in 2021, but he was basically a non-factor. 2022, last year, in part-time play, so under 50% of the snaps, he had 4.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 16 QB hits. All right? That is what Charles Omenihu had. He is going to be 26 years old this upcoming year.
Turns 26 in August.
Here are the edge rushers in the NFL last year who had a higher win percentage when it comes to pass rush win rate. Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, Za'Darius Smith, Trey Hendrickson.
End of list.
He was also in the top 15 in total pressures. That is what Charles Omenihu did. He has gotten a lot better last year. Now, he did not play in the majority of the snaps.
Yeah, he was a rotational piece.
Last year, he played in 50% of the snaps for the 49ers, but he's gotten better. And I think he will stay better as well when you look at Joe Cullen and the Chiefs and the times that the Chiefs are going to be up in games and the amount of times that the Chiefs and the opposing team against the Chiefs will have to pass the football. I like this signing. I think this signing is a good one. Still waiting on the actual contract numbers.
Yeah, what the cap hits are and yada, yada, yada.
So right now, it is not released yet, but is a 2-year deal worth a max of $20 million. So if it's $10 million guaranteed, it probably is a $7 million cap hit this year and $3 million dead cap next year. And there you go. It might be a 1-year deal. It's a 1 year. It will be a 1-year deal. Let's see what happens in year 2.
Yeah.
So I like this for Charles Omenihu. I think
Great
it's a
deal
good
for
spot.
both sides.
He's a big dude. All right.
Yeah, big boy.
Charles Omenihu is exactly what you'd want if you are Steve Spagnuolo. Charles Omenihu is listed at 6'5", 280 pounds. He likes those big defensive ends.
Ags has the type.
The issue here is that he does have some off the field problems. He, on my guess, is going to be suspended coming up this year. He had a domestic violence charge last year. And so we know that the Chiefs are did their due diligence. We know that
the court system from the state in which the charge is happening is still trying to decide if anything will be filed.
Yep.
They're still doing their investigation, which it's its own thing.
And the NFL doesn't care about that. We know that.
No, and that's where we go to, even if he does not get charged with anything, and opinions can be your own opinions. The Chiefs did, we'd have to assume with the way they do things, they've done their due diligence and they are comfortable with the signing. The NFL doesn't need convictions to make suspensions. I mean, Willie Gay got suspended 4 games or whatever for breaking a vacuum cleaner. So,
well, it was more than that. So
I wouldn't be surprised if Omenihu gets hit for a couple.
I think you got to think the minimum is going to be 2 games.
Yeah.
So, but here's where the Chiefs stand at their defensive line. We know that they want to have 8 guys. All right.
Yeah.
They like to have a backup for every starter. If you look at what they had last year, they had a backup for every starter. Your starters were Clark and Karlaftis, Dana, and Dunlap. So they had 4 defensive ends. Inside, you had Noddy, Jones, Tershawn Wharton, and Colin Saunders. Okay? They had 8 guys. And you need 8 guys because of injuries. Right now, they've got starting ends are going to be Omenihu and Karlaftis. Your backup is Dana. Technically, your other backup is Malik Herring or Joseph Kando. But your main 3 are going to be Karlaftis, Dana, and Omenihu. You still need 1 more unless you think Herring or Kando are going to take a big jump.
Yeah.
Inside, you have got Chris Jones, Tershawn Wharton. That is it. They signed Tershawn Wharton. He was a restricted free agent. They gave him a contract. He should be good to go for spring or for fall camp, according to all reports. They do have some guys on the practice squad. They've got Danny Shelton, the big giant space eater of a man. And then they've got Daniel Wise, former Jayhawk. So to me, right now, they need 3 other dudes. They need another defensive end and 2 defensive tackles. That is what they need if you are the Kansas City Chiefs. You've got 5 guys. Jones, Dana, Karlaftis, Wharton, and Charles Omenihu. You need 3 more other dudes. Unless you think somebody on the roster right now can improve and get the job done. That's their defensive line.
No.
So far, Omenihu replaces Clark. That to me is that replacement.
Yeah.
Okay. Karlaftis, Omenihu, Dana, Now you need a Dunlap or something like that. Right now, you've got Jones and Wharton. You need a Colin Saunders.
Yeah.
Colin Saunders is now going to be playing for the New Orleans Saints. He signed a 3-year deal worth a total of $14 million. Don't know what the guarantees are in that, but good for Colin Saunders.
Good for him.
The Chiefs probably thought, we can't do that. That's why I think the Chiefs will be drafting a D end and a D tackle in this draft coming up.
Wouldn't be the worst idea. You could technically fill out those back end spots with just youthful rotation pieces that are just like, we're not going to use you a ton, but you're there if we need to call on.
Exactly.
Which works.
They'll be like the Tershawn Wharton of a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Or the Colin Saunders of last year.
Yeah.
He was not a main guy, but boy, he was a good depth piece. And so that's what you're hoping for if you're the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Like the Omenihu signing, he's probably going to be suspended a couple games because of what has occurred, but he's only 26 years old.
That's the best part of this, is that he's only going to be 26 when August comes around.
Yeah, so I'm guessing his cap hit will be 7 or 8 this year and 5 or 6 next year, because you just have to figure out a way to make the guaranteed money work. But last year, he had 21 pressures in 54% of snaps, had 4.5 sacks. I think that will go up. And you can move him around. You can put him on the interior if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's the best part about Charles Omenihu, is he had over 100+ snaps at 3 different spots among the D-line.
Mm-hmm.
Was able to line up fully far outside the tackle, was able to line up right up over the tackle, and then kick it inside as well, which just... Steve Spagnuolo started doing it a lot last year, which was varying up who lined up where to try to take advantage of mismatches or matchup things, or be able just to confuse the offensive line a little bit. And now you can do that even more. You know, you can get real crazy and kick Omenihu and Karlaftis inside on a pass rushing down and put Jones and Dana on the outside, or some weird combination that you can make work.
From the text line, we'll finish off this hour. Geno Smith is better than Derek Carr. Look at the numbers, you jamokes. Now,
Never been called a jamoke.
Never been called a jamoke before.
Yeah, that's new.
Here's the thing. Fine. Geno Smith is the 3rd best quarterback in the NFC.
Sure, he's had one good year. Sure.
Yep, you're right. One good year. So be it.
The point still stands.
Geno Smith is the 3rd best quarterback in the NFC. Geno Smith wouldn't even be a top 8 quarterback in the AFC.
Nope.
I would take Mahomes. I would take Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Lawrence, Lamar, Aaron Rodgers, depending upon what he looks like. Like, he's literally the 8th best quarterback in the AFC.
So sure, we can put Geno above Derek Carr.
Geno's better than
Point
Derek
still
Carr.
stands. The NFC South, the NFC is full of bad quarterbacks.
I agree. Geno Smith is better than Derek Carr.
Sure. Our overall point still stands.
That's like saying, hey, your Ford Taurus is better than my Celica. Coming up, we will get to Bobcats of Montana State. Jake and Fulton Caster with you. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of news happening in the NFL as well up in Des Moines, Iowa. Once again, all of our NCAA tournament coverage from KU and K-State brought to you by Lewis Toyota here in the capital city. I-470 in Fairlawn. Shop local. Shop Lewis Toyota. Heard from Norm Roberts just last hour. We'll get to some of that audio coming up again in the 2 o'clock hour as Bill Self is there in Des Moines, is coaching. But Norm Roberts met with the media today. Still, we'll wait and see what's going to happen. It's a day-by-day situation with Bill Self and how he is going to go about his duties at Des Moines. We're going to talk with Kellis Robinett an hour from right now as he's gearing up to travel to Greensboro. But we are going to talk about the Bobcats of Montana State. That is right. Montana State, winners of the Big Sky. And to talk all things Bobcats, we bring in the voice of the Montana State Bobcats, Keaton Gilligley, joining us to talk all things Montana State. And I'm guessing this is a team that is pretty excited to have a 14 seed. This is a fan base, I'm guessing, that is amped. The football team had an unbelievable year. Same thing now that the basketball team. How excited are Montana State Bobcat fans right now?
Man, they're excited. You know, it's a lot of fun. And, you know, it's funny because sometimes once a team has already gotten and broken a long drought, you know, like Montana State had last year, you see a little bit of a dip in enthusiasm, but that has not been the case at all. It's been really a lot of fun. People are excited and our whole allotment is already out. So going to be a lot of Bobcat fans over there. You know.
Alrighty, first things first, give me the scouting report of this Bobcat team. Let the K-State contingent listening right now know what they're getting into with this Bobcat team.
Yeah, you're going to get a dogfight, man. Even though this is going to be a cat fight, you're going to get a dogfight. I mean, this was a Montana State team the last 2 years that's been the best defensive team in the Big Sky Conference. They've got back-to-back Big Sky Defensive Players of the Year each of the last 2 seasons. Jabril Bello last year, the big man in the front court, and Darius Brown, the point guard this year, who transferred over from CSUN. So you're going to see a lot of great defense. You're going to see two true back-to-the-basket bigs in Jabril Bello and Great Osabor, a couple of guys who came over from England and have tremendous footwork. And, the biggest question is going to be, can they knock down their three-point shots? And we do know they're going to hit their free throws when they get to the line a lot. So bottom line, you're going to see a bunch of guys who work together, play hard, play really good defense, and have a really versatile lineup to face a lot of different types of plays.
All right, the number one thing for Kansas State recently has been turnovers. If they turn it over, they lose. If they don't turn it over, they win. It's been kind of pretty simple for this K-State team. Does this Bobcat team turn the opponent over? What do they do on that side of the ball when it comes to turnovers?
They do a lot. Darius Brown, who I mentioned earlier as the point guard, the lead point guard, he had 44 steals in 18 games in the Big Sky Conference season. So he's been tremendous guard in the perimeter. And then Robert Ford is another guy who's coming off the bench, who's been tremendous on the defensive side as well. He's just kind of small, kind of like Newell, and just, he knows how to find the basketball. So, really Montana State has won some games due to some turnovers and forcing their opponents into turnovers. And like I said, they've been one of the best defensive teams in the conference the last 2 years. So yeah, they could definitely turn the opponent over.
Do they do pressure defense? What kind of defense would you say that they do run? Is it switching? What would you say they do?
Yeah, it's a man-to-man defense, and they will switch if they need to. But really, they've got a situation where, they have 3 really strong perimeter defenders. And then at the 4 position, you've got 2 or 3 different guys that can come in that can guard anything between a guard and a forward. So they'll switch if they need to because they've got a lot of defensive versatility. Caleb Fuller is a 4 who also transferred over this year. He's a guy who can guard a guard, and Great Osabor is coming off the bench. We've seen him guard some point guards and wings as well. So they've got a lot of versatility, and they'll switch when the matchup dictates. And they've got a few tricks up their sleeve on the defensive side when they really want to turn up the pressure.
We're talking with the voice of the Montana State Bobcats, Keaton Gilligley, joining us. And you mentioned inside with Bello. He was the Defensive Player of the Year last year in the conference. I'm assuming he's still pretty good on defense, but on offense, K-State's had some issues with, big dudes inside. Is he the traditional back to the basket type of big?
Yeah, 100%. He's an absolute throwback. I mean, he's a guy who has very good footwork, knows what he's going to do with the basketball, but he's going to do his work early. He's going to get his positioning, and he's got a nice little baby hook that he knows how to put in, and he rebounds like an absolute animal. So, yeah, he's definitely kind of a throwback. And then it's also interesting because, he's the 6th-year guy, the 4 years here at Montana State, and him compared to Great Osabor, who also has true back-to-basket moves coming off the bench in the front court. He can also kind of dribble the basketball and hand a little bit. Osabor will tell you he's a point guard at heart. So, yeah, they've got 2 pretty dynamic front court bigs in Bello and Osabor, a couple of guys who came over from England.
When it comes to the three-point attempt, you said, is that kind of their issue, wins or losses, where K-State's, K-State's pretty consistent everything, and when it comes to the turnovers, that's their biggest issue. Is that for Montana State, the three-pointer? They shoot at 33% from the field, which is not great as a team, but is that kind of their X factor? Is that their line in the sand?
Oh, for sure. That's definitely been the soft underbelly. And it's been kind of surprising because they do have guys that can knock down 3. They've got 4 or 5 guys that can consistently knock down between 1 and 3 3-point field goal makes per game. So it's been a little bit surprising, but, they did were last in the Big Sky in 3-point field goal makes per game at about 5 per contest. So they didn't hit a lot, even though the percentage wasn't too abysmal. But here's the thing. They've had some games where they've been tremendous. Tyler Patterson, 3 different times this year, has hit 5 or more threes in a single game. Robert Ford, Caleb Fuller, these are guys who can hit threes. Raekwon Battle has had games of 3, 4, 5 3-point makes. So you've got some guys that can hit the 3, and I think that's been really, like you said, the biggest X factor for Montana State. If they can get to like 7 to 10 threes in a game, they're a team that's going to, make some noise and put some stamps on some things.
When it comes to, the three-point shot, you said just simple inconsistency is the biggest issue then.
Yeah, and they're getting open looks. And, I mean, it has been a theme since the very start of the year. We're getting the shooters open looks, but they haven't fallen consistently. I mean, Tyler Patterson's still a kid who hit 41% of his threes during the conference season. So they've got guys, Caleb Fuller just in the quarterfinals of the Big Sky tournament hit 4 threes in a half. So they're getting open looks, and they have a lot of guys who can knock down that long-range shot. It's just about making those shots. And, as a coach, all you can do is put your guys in the best position possible. And the players, if you're a shooter, all you can do is keep shooting. So we've seen it kind of go up and down. But, I mean, if we see them in that 7 to 8 3-point field goal makes in a single game, you're going to feel it.
We're talking with Keaton Gilligy, who's the voice of the Montana State Bobcats. All right, let's flip it to the Wildcats. When you see and look at the Wildcats and the box scores and the stats and everything, what's the one issue that you think jumps out for Montana State?
I think it'll be interesting to see if Montana State can keep up with the offense for Kansas State. I know you mentioned the turnovers earlier, but I mean, this is obviously one of the best offensive teams in Kansas State history, and especially in recent memory. And, when you got a guy like Noel who can knock it down from the logo, and Keontae Johnson, who's a guy who can score in so many different ways, and then that X factor of Desi Sills, who obviously can just slash the bucket and is a total menace in every other way you could possibly imagine. So it'll be interesting to see if Montana State can keep up with that athleticism, because even though Montana State's defense has been great, one thing we have seen is some scoring droughts. So if Kansas State, turns this into a shootout, Montana State has had some trouble at times keeping up in that regard. Although it's hard to say that because they have put up over 80 points multiple times in conference play. So I think if it does kind of get up and down, there is a chance for Montana State to stick with that. But just the offensive powerhouse that Kansas State has been, that's kind of what scares me, especially with some of the scoring droughts Montana State has had, even in wins.
K-State can be very long at times with Gisan and Tomlin and Johnson and Sills at the guard spot. Is that going to be a big issue for Montana State?
I don't think it will be. They've been facing size all year. Eastern Washington, who won the regular season championship, they've got a bunch of wings who are 6'4", 6'5", played at Arizona, played Oregon. Middle Tennessee, it was another team Montana State played in the non-conference who had a solid year. They were another team that was built like a Power 5, that like a high major who was all 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" guys. So they faced a lot of length. Montana State has some good size as well. So, one of the things about Montana State's non-conference schedule this year was that they played so many different styles of basketball: big, small, 3-point shooting, a lot of 2-point game, a lot of getting to the line. So they've played a lot of different styles, and they've definitely seen some length. And I think Montana State will be able to keep up with at least that portion of this game.
You mentioned their non-conference schedule, which is it's actually got some quality teams. That's the first thing I look at when the power conferences take on teams from the lower conferences, out of the Ohio Valley and such. I mean, you've played NCAA tournament teams, Grand Canyon, you've played Arizona, you played Oregon. All of those losses, what were the biggest issues in the Grand Canyon loss, the Oregon loss, and the Arizona loss?
It was just about getting this team kind of together, because they lost a lot. I mean, they lost 3 of the 5 guys who started in that NCAA tournament a year ago, including their point guard, Xavier Bishop, who was the tournament MVP last season. So meshing Darius Brown and Robert Ford into that point guard position in their first year in the system, Raekwon Battle kind of stepping up. Jabril Bello was coming off season surgery. Great Osibor has grown greatly. He's only a sophomore, so he was kind of figuring his stuff out. And then Caleb Fuller, who's been a lockdown four-man for Montana State on the defensive side, he transferred, and it was his first year. So guys were just kind of getting into the system. Darius Brown and Robert Ford were both coming off of serious injuries a year ago, where they played a combined like 11 games between the two of them. So it was guys coming back off injury, guys finding their place on the team, and just getting that type of chemistry. And if you look back at the beginning of the year, at Grand Canyon, Montana State gave up a big lead, but bounced back and got a win against Long Beach State on the road. And then that 3-game trip to Montreal, that then went straight to Southern Utah. We didn't come home after that. So that was an 8-game, 4-day trip in 2 countries in, 2 different time zones. And each of those 3 games out in Montreal against Greensboro and Quinnipiac and Middle Tennessee, Montana State lost in a different way. And, they found some adversity after losing those 3 games. They went to Southern Utah. Jabril Bello got a really bad flagrant call against him. But, Raekwon Battle had a big defensive play, and Montana State was able to win a tough game on the road. And that was kind of, the fire that forged that championship DNA. That was the first time Sprinkle started talking about championship DNA with this team in particular. So it was just about getting the pieces together. And, if you look at the Arizona game, obviously it was a double-digit game, but Montana State was in that game for about 33 minutes on the road at the end of the non-conference. So they're going to come in with a lot of confidence, and they're going to feel like they've seen everything you could possibly see around the country.
You brought up the Arizona game, and I'm glad you did, because you look at the final score and you're like, 21 points. Okay, game wasn't close. It was pretty close until about the 10-minute mark, when it looks like Montana State was down by just, I want to say, about seven points. and then at the end of the game, they kind of just took over. Was that simply just the size of Arizona that caused that kind of situation?
It was just kind of one of those things where, just Arizona started playing their game. Montana State took it right to them. They played really hard. They played so hard. That game was an absolute bloody backroom brawl. Like, it was so physical the way the guys came out. Raekwon Battle got a cut that still is scarred up right now over his eye in that game. Jabril Bello was getting hammered in that game. And, there was a situation where obviously Arizona is the better team. They're bigger, they're more athletic, but Montana State was right there for, about 33 minutes, and Montana State played their best game. So, they're a more complete team now than they were in that game. So, I think Montana State can pretty much handle any sort of size, and Arizona hit their shots late. They got a couple of free men, and that's the way it goes when you play at Arizona. So it's one of the top environments, one of the top programs in the country.
When it comes to the shock and awe, because they made it last year, you feel like this is more of a we belong type of team?
Definitely. That's been a theme all year. Montana State's been, and Danny Sprinkle's been talking about this. It's been, changing the expectations at this program. In the championship call they used during the selection show on CBS from our broadcast, our hometown broadcast, I called it the golden age of Bobcat basketball. And that's because this hasn't really happened. This is the first time in 20 years that Montana State has won back-to-back, or had put up 20-win seasons in back-to-back years. They've put up the two highest Big Sky Conference win totals in program history over the last two seasons. They've never made it back to back-to-back NCAA tournaments until this season. So, yes, it's definitely been a situation where the expectations are changing. And, they proved that last year wasn't a flash in the pan. They refilled the cupboard with some key transfers who most have eligibility going into next year. And, Raekwon Battle has another year of eligibility. So no matter what happens today or tomorrow or at the end of this NCAA tournament, Montana State does have a lot of weapons to continue their plow through to get to the top of the Big Sky Conference, because they haven't been there in a long time. And now they're there, and it looks like they've got the tools that can continue to fight for that year in and year out in the foreseeable future.
All righty, two for the road. Last two I've got for you. The spread is 8.5. Is that about right? Do you feel like that is the spread, which is the lowest spread among all 14 seeds?
Yeah, I think that probably seems about right. It does sound like a lot of people have put some money on Montana State, and I'm not too surprised. They've gotten a little bit of national press with ESPN Game Day and what they've done with football and being there a little bit last year. So that makes some sense to me. Montana State's not going to sneak up on anybody.
All righty. I know this answer because I've had a cousin go to Montana State, loves Bozeman, loves the Bobcats. I know this answer, but I needed it to come from you there in Bozeman, Montana. Do people in Montana think the show Yellowstone is and sorry to ask this, I know you get probably asked this all the time, so I'm being so cliche, but I got to ask it anyways, because I know people are probably wondering here in the state. Do people think Yellowstone is a good representation of Montana?
No, not even close. It's not even a little bit. Everybody here despises it.
Do they really?
Everybody here thinks it's the reason people keep moving here, and you get a bunch of Walmart cowboys. And there's too many people that come in and try to cosplay John Dutton while watching that show. It's not even close.
So like Montanans don't like it, like for real, like they really don't like it.
More than don't like it, hate it, despise it. They think it's wrong, and we don't like it. It's why that's why we think people are moving here. And there's too many people look at what Kirk Herbstreit wore during the college game day when he was here. People show up in those big floppy felt hats thinking that they're ranchers as soon as they hit the floor, just because they watch a few episodes of John Dutton being tough.
See, this is why I needed to come. My cousin said the same thing, but I got to hear it from you as well. Like, because I love the show. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. My wife and I watch it. That's
just remember, it's fiction. It's not nonfiction.
Yeah,
it's very, very fiction. Enjoy it, but just when you land, it's not what it's like here.
And for those of you who don't know, Montana is absolutely gorgeous. I'm telling you, it is so pretty up there. I got family up there, and so I know they're excited about Montana State taking on K-State. The amount of text messages I've got are over a few. Keaton, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Safe travels to Greensboro, and we appreciate all the time.
No doubt, man. Appreciate it. Excited for the game.
There you go. Montanans hate Yellowstone.
Least shocking thing ever.
Yeah, they do. They do.
I would also be mad if I felt that a show was making a caricature of the place I live and enjoy.
My cousin went to Montana State.
Mm.
Loves Montana State. Loves Bozeman. Bozeman, great place. I've been to Bozeman and to Missoula.
Okay.
Where that's Montana.
Yeah.
Both great places. Both great places. But I hate the show. Coming up next, our favorite individual tourney runs for Everyone Loves the List. Everyone Loves the List, our favorite individual tournament runs where a guy got on an absolute heater. Number 4, Fulton.
Number 4 for me, it ended in a national title. Shabazz Napier of UConn, his 2014 run. Fairly impressive, not dramatically so, but still a couple 20-point games in there and led his team to a national title.
Number 4 for me, cover your ears, Fulton. Carmelo Anthony, 2003.
Game, respect, game.
Goodness, he was a beast. 20, 33, 20 his first 2-3 games. Incredible.
Number 3 for me, it only got his team to an Elite 8 only because overtime existed in the Elite 8. Carson Edwards for Purdue in 2019. He had 2 40-point games.
That's right. That's a good
42
call.
Against Nova, 42 in a losing effort against Virginia.
Yeah, that's
Dude
right.
was on a heater.
Yeah.
Said the most 3-pointers in a single NCAA tournament in history.
Number 3 for me, it was honestly 2 years in a row, but man, Christian Laettner was on a mission. 91 and 92. Dude was awesome. I know everybody hated the dude, but if there is a Mount Rushmore of college basketball, he's on it. He went to 4 Final Fours.
That's impressive. That's really impressive. Number 2 for me, one of the more famous ones of recent memory, Cardiac Kemba Walker. He led his team in scoring every single game en route to the national championship. He just was amazingly clutch.
Kemba's my number 2. UConn 2011. He went, here are his numbers: 33, 26, 20, 18, and 18.
It's a good run.
He was on a heater.
He was on an absolute heater.
Yep.
Number 1 for me is one that had things gone differently would scar me even more than my young self with Carmelo Anthony. Steph Curry in 2008. Thank goodness it did not ruin my team's chance at a national championship. But good Lord, the heater Steph Curry was on in that tournament was absurd.
That's my number one.
Just absurd.
40, 30, 44, and 25. And he didn't take the final shot against KU. If he would have made that shot against KU, I think it would have gone in. If he just would have shot it, it would have went in.
I don't disagree.
The basketball gods were like, nope, you're there, man.
And I appreciate them to this day. I appreciate them to this day.
Yep. Steph Curry,
Steph's tournament run in 08 was
run.
absurd.
Yep. Coming up, we're going to get to the Chiefs and what's going to happen at wide receiver. Another edition of Everyone Loves a List. I don't know what that list is, but Fulton, what do we got? I'm excited for this.
Jake, have you ever just been doing something and you look at what you did, you go, man, I thought I did this earlier. Oh, I guess I forgot, so I'll do it again.
Yeah.
No, I found where I put it.
Yeah.
I misplaced the bump music, and it was like, I just must have completely misplaced it.
You mean with like the 80,000 things you're doing with the NCAA tournament and Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff and calling Daryl Holiday and getting everything set up? You mean you forgot that you did something? That's quite all right, my man.
Yeah, big shock, Jake, in the
Live
middle
radio.
of everything I was doing. Yeah, I do find that funny because I have to admit, well, that happened. When we were at the other break, I looked and was like checking the time we had left.
Yeah.
I saw our list bump. I was like, I know I put that in there. I guess I forgot. I am now just delighted to know I wasn't wrong that I did put it in the playlist like I thought I did. I just put it on the wrong break. We do not have two lists today. Lord knows Jake and I can't do two of these in a day.
We got lots to get to. Want to thank Keaton Gilligley for coming on and talking all things Montana State Bobcat basketball. All of our tournament coverage brought to you by Lewis Toyota here in Topeka, I-470 and Fairlawn. If you need an oil change in under an hour, head to Lewis Toyota here in the capital city. Something pique your interest just now?
The Masters dinner that's for Scotty Scheffler, the menu just got posted on my timeline.
This
is a good menu.
Super generic, though.
I don't care. It's all good.
Super generic.
I don't care. It's all tasty.
Scotty Scheffler.
I don't care.
The most generic dude.
My God, he's giving me cheeseburgers, shrimp,
Yeah.
steak, fish, and a cookie.
Super.
I don't care.
No, I know, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just telling you that he's super generic.
I won't disagree on that. There's been some lot more intricate Masters dinners, but that also is Masters dinner that slaps top to bottom.
I feel like anything you have there is probably gonna slap top to bottom.
I mean, yes, because you're probably getting a lot of world-class chefs making the food, so it's probably all going to be good. But
like ribeye steak, cheeseburger sliders, shrimp. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I'm happy.
Pretty simple there.
I don't need to be wowed.
I do. Wow the hell out of me.
I
want to be wined and dined. Come on, Augusta. Wine and dine me. That doesn't surprise me at all. Oh wow, really good menu from a club that makes more money than Scrooge McDuck. Not a surprise. We are going to get to the Kansas City Chiefs and where they stand right now, wide receiver wise. Here's what the Chiefs have. And let me know if this changes or if you disagree. They normally have 5 wide receivers on the roster, correct?
Usually.
Okay. Right now, wide receiver 1, Kadarius Toney. Wide receiver 2, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, a.k.a. MVS. Wide receiver 3, Sky Moore. Wide receiver 4, Justin Ross. Wide receiver 5, to be determined. They've got a couple guys on the roster, but I'm not putting Cornell Powell on this list. Do you agree with me that right now, if they had to snap the football, Toney, MVS, and Moore are 1, 2, 3?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
In that order?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah.
I think they think Toney's ceiling, I think, is very high. The question with Toney is health.
Yeah. Can his hamstrings not collapse?
And his ankles. Toney has a 2, and MVS has a 3, and Sky Moore has a 4. Very good situation. You want to know how I know that?
That's what last year was, essentially.
When they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They don't have wide receiver 5. Here's 2024. Toney, MVS has a $14 million cap hit. You can cut him, and it would only be dead cap at 2. And then you got Sky Moore and Justin Ross, and then wide receiver 5 to be determined. So the next 2 years, if you think Justin Ross and his one-handed non-catch that the Chiefs showed on video is a big deal, and that will translate to the NFL, but he's right now on the roster. The wide receiver market is a completely different market than last year. Last year, you had everybody. You had Tyreek Hill getting traded, Devontae Adams getting traded, Christian Kirk, DJ Moore. You had all sorts of guys. I know Galladay at the time, but he was healthy. There's a lot going on, a lot last year in the wide receiver market. This year, there's not. The top 2 wide receivers right now who've gotten contracts are Allen Lazard and Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers and Allen Lazard essentially got what MVS got a year ago. Maybe a smidge more, about $5 million guaranteed more. Lazard got 4 years, $22 million guaranteed. Now, some people are saying, well, look, I mean, he got a great deal and he's making a boatload of money. I will say this until it gets through to everybody. Do not look at the total number of dollars, okay? Don't do it. says here, Alan Lazard signed 4-year, $44 million contract. Yes, but the guarantees are $22 million. It could very well be a 2-year deal worth $22 million, and then the last 2 years are we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number right now. Jacoby Myers, same situation. He is signed with the Raiders, and Jacoby Myers' contract is virtually the same thing. Jacoby Myers, now his individual cap hits have been released, and this is why I find it hysterical. Jacoby Myers signed a 3-year, $33 million deal, $21 million guaranteed. It's a 1-year deal and 2 option years. Jacoby Myers, 7.2 cap hit this year, 12.8 next year, and then they will move on from him, especially after 2 years. He'll probably be on the team for the next 2 years. But they could even get out of it next year. Granted, they'd eat about close to $4 million, but that's my point, is that these are not, oh, wow, he got $33 million. No, he's not going to get $33 million.
That's why we always tell you, wait for the actual salary cap breakdowns and whatnot to come out, because you never truly know what it's going to be. Real quick, before we continue, we have a text on the text line from the 785 that I want to get to. They would like to clarify a question from us. The text is, I've never understood the difference between the cap and the dead cap. Can you explain? It's very simple. Obviously, we have the salary cap. That's all the money you can spend. We all know that generally is. When we say dead cap or dead money, that is just money you're paying a player to not be on your team.
Yes.
So when we say like MVS next year has a $14 million cap hit or a $2 million dead cap, it means the Chiefs can send him down the road and either cut him or trade him, or basically say, I don't want you on my team. They're still on the hook for $2 million owed to him due to the language of his contract, and that does count as like your cap space.
Correct.
So dead cap is just money you're not paying. You're paying to players not on your team.
To go away.
Essentially, to go away, to be somewhere else. So that is dead cap. That is dead money.
In this situation for Jacoby Myers, he is cap hit this upcoming year 7.2. Yeah. That is the cap hit that goes to the overall Raiders salary cap.
As long as he's playing on your team.
If he's playing. His dead cap is $10.5 million.
The Raiders, for some weird reason, traded or cutted him after signing him. They still owe him now more money on this year's cap of 10.5 because they basically it's much more complicated than this because it's really annoying. But essentially, his whole contract, the Raiders would still owe him, guaranteed out of it, 10.5 more million.
Correct.
So there's about 3 more million the next 3 to 4 million the next couple of years that would then just get accelerated onto the current year.
Yeah. So when we say dead cap versus cap hit, if your dead cap is below your cap hit, you are technically cheaper to cut than to keep.
Yes.
But you have to balance that like next year, 2024, Jacoby Myers cap hit's $12.8 million. That's pretty good cap hit for.
That's not bad at all.
A wide receiver who can play but is not dynamic. His dead cap is 3.6.
You save a decent amount of money if for whatever reason you needed the space.
You want to move on. You would end up with $8 million in cap space, but you're going to pay $3.6 million, and he's not going to get any production. You don't want a lot of dead cap. That means you made a lot of bad contracts where the players stink.
You want to be paying guys because they're helping your team, not paying a bunch of guys because they're not there.
So with these two contracts have set the market.
Essentially, they really have.
It is $11 million on average to the cap hit, but as we've just pointed out, you can maneuver some of these cap hits and cap numbers.
Yeah.
So you've got Juju Smith-Schuster still out there. If you think Juju Smith-Schuster can still play and still get it done, it will cost you around the Jacoby Myers deal. 3 years, $33 million, or $7 million in cap space this year, $12.8 next year. That's about what he is going to sign. A lot lower than what we thought.
Yeah, I expected
a lot lower.
I expected the top end receivers of this market to get like 14 or 15, which is just a lot. given to those.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Juju wanted to come back on a 3-4 year deal, whereas AAV is like 10 or 11, I'm not saying no. If you can make that work financially, I'm saying yes.
Right now, the Chiefs have in cap space $6.7 million. Okay. That's how much cap space they've got. They still have 3 ways that they can maneuver money.
Mm-hmm.
1, extend Chris Jones. His cap, it goes from 29 million probably down to 15 million. So that right there, boom, boom. Add 15 million to the cap, and now the Chiefs have got $21 million in cap space. And you get Chris Jones long term, which would make me happy.
Me too.
Or you kick the can down the road with Joe Tourney,
Mm-hmm.
or you kick the can down the road with Patrick Mahomes. And when we say kick the can down the road, we mean take a portion of his cap hit, spread it out over the next 5 years. So his cap hit next year would go up however much you decide to take off, okay? And you spread it out over 5 years. So let's say you take 20 million off his cap hit. That 20 million then goes over the next 5 years. Very simple, 4 million more per year to the cap the next 5 years. You don't want to do that, but you can if you need to. So this leaves the Kansas City Chiefs with Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, MVS, Sky Moore, Justin Ross. Those would be your 5 if they re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster. I am on board with Juju Smith-Schuster because now it looks like it's not going to cost as much. They look at the draft and they go, wow, look at all these wide receivers, because that's been the biggest change. Unless you are Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, he will. Jamar Chase, he will. It's better to go via the draft. Look at what happened with Demarcus Robinson. Look at now what happened to Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman. They're not getting the numbers that they thought they would get. I think this does open up the door for DeAndre Hopkins. I've been very against going after D-Hop, and that would go against what the Chiefs have done. The Chiefs are going right now. This is what they're doing. How old is Juwan Taylor?
25.
He'll be 26 this upcoming year. How old is Charles Omenihu?
Will be 26 in August.
In August, okay. They don't want older dudes. DeAndre Hopkins is an older guy, but they do help supplement. I don't know if you know this, but is Carlos Dunlap young?
No.
Was Melvin Ingram young?
No.
Was Terrell Suggs young?
No.
No. If they need to supplement with the veteran, they will. To me, the D-Hop trade has changed because if Darren Waller gets you a third, I hate to break it to you, Arizona, you ain't getting a first. You might get a second. Now, D-Hop is better than Waller, but the difference is D-Hop is a much bigger cap hit than Darren Waller, and he's older. Depending upon the cap numbers, DeAndre Hopkins for a second-round pick, I would rather them re-sign Juju and keep the second-round draft pick. Because if you go, I don't know if you know this, Fulton, but did Juju, Toney, MVS, Moore play in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Are you comfortable with those 4?
Yeah.
I am too. I think Kelsey, Toney, MVS, Moore, and Juju are exactly what you want. Now, some people have thrown out there, what about Mecole Hardman, Jake? I don't need Mecole Hardman on the team, and here's the reason why. You've got Toney and you've got Sky Moore. That's essentially what Mecole has been. This isn't the situation like Demarcus Robinson coming back, because Robinson plays a different position. Toney and Hardman are literally the same dude.
They're very similar, and I'll be quite frank, I think Toney's the better version.
Well, and he's younger.
Yeah.
But he's a better receiver. They both do, the jet sweeps and all that kind of stuff. And understandable.
McCall has better straight line speed than Tourney does, but I think Tony's athleticism and quick twitchiness with the ball in his hands is more beneficial.
And same thing. Sky Moore does the same things there, just not as explosive.
Yeah.
And is that worth, if you bring back Juju, Tony, MVS, Moore, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if Justin Ross is going to be way cheaper, I just think the McCole Hardman era for the Chiefs is over. So I like this where the Chiefs are at. You could end up getting Juju Smith-Schuster for a cap hit of $8 million. But right now, they don't have the cap money to do this. They've got $6 million in cap space. They really only have 3 options, and one of them makes the most sense in extending Chris Jones, dropping that cap hit this year to next year. To me, Chris Jones on a monster number in 24-25, that's not a bad contract. If your studs are awesome, that is not a bad contract. A bad contract is, wow, our guys are not very good. What are we going to do? That's what happened to the Falcons with Matt Ryan at quarterback. That's what's going to happen to the Colts at quarterback. That's a bad contract.
That's what happened to the Cowboys with Ezekiel Elliott.
That a perfect example. They're going to release Ezekiel Elliott. It's going to cost them a boatload of money. It's because they gave a guy who's not elite a big bag and also at a bad position. Like, that was so dumb.
Yeah, you don't pay running backs. It's the general thing we always keep saying. It's not bad to spend money. You just need to spend it smartly. And thus far, the Chiefs are spending smartly.
Coming up in the 2:00 hour, we will get to a lot more college hoops. We're going to hear from Kellis Robinett. We will also get into what Norm Roberts said about Bill Self. All that coming up. Wednesday. Jake Fulton Caster with you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk a lot of basketball this hour. In the noon hour, you heard from Norm Roberts on the status of Kevin McCullough, Grady Dick, and Bill Self. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. You got to love live radio because the minute after we went to break, Juju Smith-Schuster has now just signed a 3-year deal with the New England Patriots for $33 million and $22 million guaranteed, which means Juju Smith-Schuster signed the Jacoby Myers contract, but with New England, which means two things. Either Kansas City didn't want Juju back, or they didn't want him back at $11 million per year or a, $8 million cap hit this year, $12 million next year. We'll get to that more in detail coming up in a little bit. But right now, we're going to talk all things NCAA tournament with the Kansas State Wildcats. All of our tournament coverage brought to you by Lewis Toyota here in Topeka, I-470 in Fairlawn. Shop local, shop Lewis, and they can get you an oil change in under an hour. That's something that Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle would very, very much appreciate. With how busy he is, he would love an oil change in under an hour. We go to, is he in Greensboro yet? Well, let's go to Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle. Kellis, have you gotten to Greensboro?
I'm talking to you from my house in Manhattan right now, my friend.
You are not in Greensboro then. How are you getting there?
Well, it's tricky to get to Greensboro. I'm actually flying into Charlotte, which is like 75 miles away. It was just easier than going directly to Greensboro. I guess Raleigh's only like an hour away too. It's kind of annoying if they've got these cities with big airports right nearby. Why don't they just host the dang event in Charlotte or Raleigh? But anyway, I'm on the late flight out today. I'll get into Charlotte tonight, and I'll be in Greensboro tomorrow for the open practice and everything. But I figured I'd stick around in here and enjoy the warm Kansas weather as long as I could.
And that's kind of the big question I've got. Seed-wise, they end up at 3. Nobody's upset at K-State for ending up at 3. That's not a huge issue. What do you think cost them Denver? Because Texas going to Des Moines, okay, I get that. They put Baylor to Denver. Baylor's a 3 seed as well. If they would have beat TCU in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, do you think they would have been on top of Baylor, or they really had no chance? They had to beat West Virginia and TCU in order to go to Denver to make it a lot easier trip, one for you, my friend, and for everybody else.
Yeah, I think they probably had to get to the Big 12 tournament final. Maybe not. Maybe a win over TCU would have carried a little bit more weight than what I'm giving them. But the problem they had was just like Gonzaga closing out the season as strong as they did. That allowed them to pass them in the pecking order. Baylor, they weren't able to pass Baylor. So both those teams got Denver. It's just a really close deal. And I guess they just needed a few more wins here or there if they wanted to play closer to home.
Are you surprised Baylor got ahead of them, even though they swept Baylor twice?
Not really. I mean, Baylor overall has a very similar profile. They're ahead of them in the metrics. I think they're ahead of them in the net. They've got plenty of wins too. And, Kansas State fans, you and me who watch Kansas State play Baylor are going to say, well, Kansas State's clearly the better team. They swept them one. The world should Baylor be ahead of them. That's not something the NCAA tournament looking at. Their selection committee at the end of the day isn't going, oh, whoa, wait. The team we have seated 9th here got swept by the team that's 12th. So let's mix this whole thing up. It's not that. So that's why that happened.
All righty, they get the 3 seed in Greensboro. What do you think of the draw, first of all, against Montana State and the Bobcats?
I think it's a pretty good draw. I mean, other than having to travel across country to play, I think it's pretty good. You've got Montana State in the opening round, which really shouldn't be that hard of a game, in my opinion. I know there's some experts who've been picking Montana State to cover the spread and maybe upset Kansas State in that game because they do match up favorably against them in some areas, like creating turnovers and shooting 2-pointers, scoring near the rim. I just don't necessarily think that's going to translate, out of the Big Sky and up against the Big 12 opponent. The stat I can't get past with them is that they've never beaten a power conference team under their current coach. They haven't had a ton of tries at it, but the last 3 times they lost by 32 in the NCAA tournament last year against Texas Tech. They lost by 30 this year to Oregon, and they lost by 22 this year to Arizona. So that shows you there's a pretty big gap there when they seem to play up. I think they just get out-athleted in those games. So I personally would be surprised if that game goes down the wire. That's certainly not an assurance that Kansas State will win comfortably. The NCAA tournament is built on upsets, and they happen every year. I didn't see UMBC beating Virginia a couple years ago. I didn't pick any of the 15 seeds to have ever beaten a 2 seed, so it could sure happen a different way than I'm projecting. But I think that Kansas State will show up in that game and win. And then in the second game, if they do advance, that'll be quite the matchup against Kentucky or Providence. We're starting to see Kentucky a whole lot here on the Kansas State beat. This will be the 3rd time they've played in the NCAA tournament in the past decade if it happens. Obviously going up against Oscar Tshiebwe will be a challenge. Going up against they're kind of the polar opposite of Montana State. They've got all kinds of athletes and NBA prospects over there, and then Providence is one of the best coached teams in the country. So getting out of the pod, no easy task. I'd probably say it's a coin flip, but this time of year for a number 3 seed, you can't ask for too much better. So I like the draw. I think they could have been put in a lot more difficult region.
I think there's 2 matchups in this game that I am interested in, and I wonder how it's going to shake out. Darius Brown II, he is their point guard, 6'2". He is the defensive player of the year in the Big Sky. He will go up against Marquise Noel. If you're the defensive player of the year, I don't care what conference you're in, you're probably an above average defender. Being 6'2" also helps. We know how important Marquise Noel is to this team. How do you think that Marquise has handled against a lot bigger guards this year?
Well, I think in terms of, the way he plays defense on them, it's been fine. There certainly have been times where it's been the opposite, where he's gone up against taller guards on other teams and they've scored on him. So, that's an interesting question. I don't know that it'll necessarily be that difficult for him to get his points on a taller guard. I'm thinking back. I guess that's kind of what Kansas did in their 2 games. They made sure to have Grady Dick or Kevin McCullough on him rather than DeJuan Harris, just because the size does give him fits. And if that does happen, then he'll just have to facilitate a little bit better than he has in other games.
The other matchup is their big man inside, Bello, who also, by the way, was Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Sky the year before. He's listed at 6'9", 250. He is a back-to-the-basket, old-school type of guy. Do you think he could end up being a potential problem because K-State doesn't have a true big guy?
He could, and he also wears goggles, if I'm correct on that, which I think is always a bonus. Any college basketball player who's wearing goggles always seems to be a little bit better than players that don't, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, I mean, there are plenty of, big men out there who have had great games against Kansas State this season. Manny Bates at Butler looked like Dikembe Mutombo against them when they played that game. We've seen other bigs in the Big 12 have success on them, KJ Adams, other guys. So that's been an issue for them at times this year, and especially now that they've gone to a smaller lineup. They really don't want to stick Naquan Tomlin on a back-to-the-basket guy who can put him in foul trouble. So that's going to be something they're going to have to navigate. It might be an opportunity for Bebe Igiola to get in there and play a little bit more minutes than he's used to if they're just relying on defense. David Gasson, maybe you play him a little bit more than usual and rotate those guys in there with Desi Sills instead of just going with a smaller lineup. But, the beauty of basketball is it's a two-way sport. And, yeah, he might be able to hurt you a little bit when he's got his back to the basket on offense. But if he's a tall, lumbering guy on the other end, you can run around him and score with speed. So maybe the best defense is a good offense, and they can just score so much it don't matter.
We're talking with Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle. You can follow him on Twitter at Kellis Robinett from the Eagle and the Kansas City Star. Covers the K-State beat. All of our coverage before the NCAA tournament brought to you by Lewis Toyota here in Topeka, I-470 and Fairlawn. Do you think that the spread is about right at 8.5? It is the smallest spread amongst all the 3 versus 11 seeds.
Yeah, I think it's pretty sharp. I think it opened at maybe 9.5, came down to 8.5. So it hasn't budged then. So I'm thinking it looks pretty good, just for kind of what I said earlier, because Montana State is capable of hurting some of Kansas State's weaknesses. I could certainly see a scenario where they keep it within that number. I've kind of gone back and forth with the way I'm going to pick it, but like I said, Montana State just really has not ever shown the ability to compete with these bigger schools. So I could also see Kansas State winning by 15 here. Always kind of tricky to lay a bunch of points in the first round with any favorite, especially a team like Kansas State that hasn't been to the NCAA tournament before. But I'm tempted to do it. I think if they can come out, really do what some of these other teams have done and truly out-athlete them, I think they could win by double digits. And maybe the best way to approach that spread is to watch it live. And if Kansas State gets off to a good looking start, you figure, you know what, if I have to lay 10 instead of 8.5, that's okay. But if Montana State comes out and it's pretty clear they're going to give them a game, then you can just stay away from it. That might be a good opportunity to get a sneak peek before you commit one way or the other.
It doesn't look like it's going to be a high-scoring game. The over-under is 139. I mean, that's less than 70-70. Do you think that's what it's going to be?
Potentially. We haven't really seen Kansas State get out and run with teams all that much lately. I guess it happened at West Virginia, but West Virginia just loves to speed you up and shoot free throws. I suppose Montana State does too. They're ranked, is it 5th nationally in the country at free throw rate. So they love to get to the line. That's one way the score could go up. But, I think 1 sounds about right.
All righty, Kellis, when it comes to this season, overall, it's a huge success. Jerome Tang, Coach of the Year in the Big 12, might even be National Coach of the Year. Don't know. Have to wait and see on that. You've got Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson, 2 third-team All-Americans. Incredible for that. If they lose this game to Montana State, it puts a real sour ending on a fantastic year. You lose the last 3 games of the year. You're hoping to play closer to home. You'll lose in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, which seems like K-State does all the time. They just don't have any success there. Then you lose again, and I know it's completely different. I know it's K-State is different under Tang than Weber. But Weber lost 2 games as the Big 12 champs. They lost as a 4 seed to LaSalle and a 4 seed to UC Irvine. It just seems like they need to win this one for kind of the you know what, it's not one and done again in the tournament. Or am I looking into that, and no matter what happens, this year has been a huge success?
No, I agree with you. There's certainly, even if they lose this game, I don't think any reasonable fan is going to sit down and say, like, we need to find a new coach or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be that catastrophic of a loss. But I do think that it would leave people, wanting more. Just because, for exactly what you said, Kansas State over the last decade has made it beyond the first round of the NCAA tournament one time. It only happened once under Bruce Weber when they went on their run of the Elite Eight with Kamau Stokes, Barry Brown, and Dean Wade playing very limited minutes, helping them along the way there. But otherwise, they were always one and done, or they didn't even make it in at all. So that was the biggest gripe year after year about Weber was that, it's great. He every few years has these great regular seasons, but if you can't even win one game in the tournament, what does it mean? That's the territory you're entering here. If you don't win this game, especially as a huge favorite, there's never been a college basketball season where a 3 or a 2 or a 1 seed loses their first round game of the NCAA tournament. People are looking back on it thinking, boy, what a great year. Fair or not, that's just how it goes. So I think it would help them very much to win this game and just kind of play with house money the rest of the way. Because I'm sure people would be disappointed if they don't get the Sweet 16. But if you win one, the difference between winning one game and no games is big in this tournament, especially as a number 3 seed. I think there would be quite a few mixed feelings on how the season went if they don't win this game. But if they do, I don't think it matters from that point on. I think pretty much everybody will be happy with it.
Alrighty, Montana State, we talked to their play-by-play voice earlier today, and he said it comes down to 3-point shooting. If they shoot the 3 well, they can pull off the upset because they don't normally shoot the 3 well. So in my mind, they basically have to play like TCU, where if they get hot from 3, they do a lot of other things well. How do you view this game if K-State pulls away and runs away, or if it's close? What do you think has to happen?
Well, I think Montana State has to turn K-State over and get a bunch of cheap points here because I think it's pretty unlikely that Montana State comes out here and just bombs away from 3. They don't shoot 3s well. They don't like to shoot 3s. Kansas State is an elite defense at the 3-point line. Take away that TCU game, which was just weird, where you got the best 3-point defense in the conference just giving up 3 after 3 after 3 to the worst 3-point shooting offense in the conference. They've been great against that all season. I actually look at that as, almost like a non-factor in this game. Like, it shouldn't even matter that Montana State is bad from 3-point range because that's what Kansas State's strength is. So there's kind of, but if you want to be bad at something playing Kansas State, you want to be bad at 3-point shooting. So for me, I think the key for Montana State is turning Kansas State over. We've seen, especially lately, when teams force Kansas State into mistakes, when they're throwing the ball away, when they're allowing transition points, it's very hard for them to make up for those. They had 20 turnovers against West Virginia. They had 20 turnovers against TCU in the Big 12 tournament. We can sit here and talk all you want about free throws or 3-pointers in those games. To me, the stat of those games is 20 turnovers. Kansas State for the season, when they commit 19 or more turnovers, they're 1-5. Otherwise, their record is really, really good. So I think the big thing for Kansas State here, limit your turnovers, keep it to about 13, even 15 at the highest. Do that, I think they win here. But if Montana State comes out and creates turnovers and especially creates points off those turnovers, then that's the recipe for a close game and possibly an upset.
Alrighty, last two for the road for you, Kellis. Very, very simple. How far do you got K-State going?
I think they make it to the Sweet 16. I really do. I think they match well with Kentucky. I'm not all that afraid of Oscar Tshiebwe in the second round just because he's not the best defender in the world. I think Kansas State could negate whatever he does on offense with offense of their own against him. And Providence, as good as they're coached, I'm really not a huge believer in them away from home. So, yeah, I think Kansas State gets to the Sweet 16, and then, then there, I think they run into a really rough matchup in Marquette, and that's where the party ends. But the beauty of the NCAA tournament is that sometimes you don't have to play that favorite team in front of you. A few years ago, when Kansas State did make it to the Elite Eight, I didn't think they had a prayer of getting out of that region because I didn't think they had a shot at beating Virginia in the second round. They didn't have to play Virginia in the second round. They played UMBC. So something like that happens, the bracket opens up for them, then they could go further.
Alrighty. Do you fill out a bracket every year? And if you have, who is in your Final Four and who have you picked to win it?
Oh, do I fill out a bracket every year? Come on. You know I do.
Just making sure. I don't want to jump to conclusions.
I've even got my kids doing it with me already. But my Final Four is let's see, I got Connecticut coming out of the West.
Woohoo!
Connecticut coming out of the West. I got Alabama coming out of the South, Marquette coming out of the East, and Texas coming out of the Midwest. So that's my Final Four: Texas, Bama, UConn, and Marquette.
Okay. All righty. And who do you got winning it all?
I'm going with the Huskies. I think Connecticut. I think they had their midseason swoon where they look bad. They've looked good the rest of the season. I'm going with them. I really like the way they play. I think I'm going to pick them at the semi-long shot as a 4 seed.
All righty. Real quick, Fulton, what is Kentucky to win the whole thing?
You mean UConn?
Or I say Kentucky?
You said Kentucky. I think you mean UConn, as in, what could Kellis make off of this bet?
Yes.
I will attempt to find it very quickly. They're not going to have great odds as a 4.
UConn.
I got
2,100.
Yeah, I got them at 20-1 before the tournament. When the things came out. So
that's a nice little
bet. Pretty good. I mean, if it happens, yeah, I'll be happy.
Beers on Kellis.
If this happens, Kellis, first and second round is on you.
I'm all right with that. Kellis, we appreciate the time as always. Safe travels to Greensboro. I would tell you if I've been there where to go and what to do, but I haven't because, well, no one goes to Greensboro except for the ACC tournament, which is lame. NCAA don't schedule people to go to Greensboro. Kellis, thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the dark here too, so I'll let you know when I get back.
See, part of that book that you can write, man.
Exactly. Adding a new chapter.
That's Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle. At UConn. I have not picked a bracket yet.
Really? No. I have my bracket sitting on my desk. I finished it yesterday after we wrapped up the show because, like any good bracket, you must also pick the first 4 teams.
Yeah.
So I had to get those in for the first 4 tipped off. I've not posted it because no one cares about my bracket, so I don't usually post it. I just make sure it's written down.
You can post it, man. Forget those people who think that.
I mean, I also don't care to.
Yeah.
Like that's why I also don't. Like I don't care to. Then,
but you also got to have it. You got to have something timestamped before the tournament, though. Otherwise,
the thing timestamped for the tournament is the one on my phone on the ESPN app that locks. That's the exact same as my handwritten one.
I'm just saying.
So there's my timestamping. I have the thing locked in.
Have you filled out the one on our 580www.com?
I have filled out the one. It is the exact. I like a proper person have one bracket. And it's just the same. Any different site I put it into, I just make the same one every time.
Okay.
I don't change it up. So no, I have made one on our website 580www.com.
If KU wins it all, you'll probably finish either first.
How do you know that I have Kansas winning it all?
Because you do.
Well, you're right, but shut up.
You and Brendan are
we're the exact same with this. We are
exactly.
And also, I mean, Brendan and I also I think have the exact same Final Four, which is good or bad.
Yeah. My wife fills out multiple different brackets. And my wife knows that I don't like it.
Yeah, you're a one bracket man.
I'm a one bracket man. And she goes, when she said, when I gave her the brackets to fill out for our family one, for the pools and for other friends and everything, she does. I mean, we're talking not just same champion. We're talking, it is a completely different bracket. And she turns and looks at me and goes, yes, I know you don't like it. I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. And I'm like, you do you, sweetie. You do you. I go, I'm a one bracket man. She goes, you know what she said? She goes, okay, be boring.
That tracks. Yeah, I sat, I hemmed, and I hawed over different things, but I have made my choices. I feel like I would like to be correct, but there's more than a few things that I probably got wrong.
I'm taking Texas Southern today.
Okay.
And I'm going to take Arizona State or Nevada. Give me the Wolfpack.
The numbers today tell me to take Nevada. So I've taken Nevada. They also tell me to take Fairleigh Dickinson. So I'm taking Fairleigh Dickinson.
You're taking Fairleigh Dickinson.
Texas Southern,
not
20 losses on the
Dickinson,
year.
Just Fairleigh Dickinson.
Well, a 20-loss team in the NCAA tournament.
Is what?
Is Texas Southern.
Are they really?
They're 14-20.
Oh, wait. Oh, I can't take them.
But here's the thing, though. I will say this.
No.
You can, because they keep getting here as a bad team, and they keep winning in the first four.
Nope. I'm going to switch my pick. I'm not locking it in. I am now. I'm riding with Fulton.
No. You're not riding with me. You're riding with the numbers.
No, I'm riding.
You're riding with the numbers.
Technically, what I'm riding is I'm not riding with a 20-loss team.
I mean, that's also fair.
Arizona State is the king of the first four. Go Wolfpack.
The numbers tell me it should be Fairleigh Dickinson tonight. And Nevada to win as well. So I might have also. I got them 2-0. I made money last night.
I'll make my picks either tonight or tomorrow.
You got to 11:15 tomorrow morning to get that bracket done.
I know. We'll do our picks tomorrow. We'll reveal them. We already know you're going. Like, it's not a secret you're going KU. That's why Brandon does KU. It's like it's not lame because you went to KU and they're a 1 seed.
Why.
It's not lame, but it's kind of lame.
Oh no! Listen. I will not speak for Brendan. I cannot speak for Brendan. I will admit to no. Oh, it's very lame that I pick KU every year.
But here's the thing, like,
but I got it. I know. Here's the thing. I know I'm never gonna get it perfectly right.
Yeah.
No one ever does. It's 1 in 9.2 quintillion to get it perfectly right. So with that, I have some fun at some spots, and one of the main thing I do to have fun every year is I just let KU go all the way.
I don't know what it's like to have your alma mater play in the Division I tournament.
That's true.
So I don't know what it's like. You know, if I went to, like, my wife, when Rhode Island, she went to Rhode Island. When Rhode Island was in the tournament with Fats Russell, you remember Fats? She took Rhode Island all the way to the Final Four.
Yeah,
and
you should. It's fun.
I get that.
Yes.
I do. And so I don't know what that's like.
It's never it's not ever going to happen a majority of the times I pick it, but I'm always going to pick KU to win because it just makes me happy.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be wrong on my bracket, I'm just going to be wrong in terms of my happiness.
Or you emotionally hedge and you pick
that too.
The other teams and get your bracket.
Oh, if you don't think if KU plays UConn down the road, then I'm not going to bet on those Huskies.
I do know
I
this.
would.
If all of my in-loves, shout out Jerome Tang
for that.
All of my in-loves all went to Arkansas.
Woo pig.
Lindsay's mom, Lindsay's dad, everybody. They could face Arkansas. That's why it was so much fun seeing Arkansas take on KU in football.
That was fun.
The comeback was fun.
Oh, yeah.
They did not win, though.
I've never had more fun watching.
But what was more importantly, what did they do?
Well, they covered.
They covered.
Which, let me tell you, when we got to that point, I was a happy man. I was like, the cover's guaranteed. We're here. We're home.
That's nice. Coming up next, we will get to the latest news on Bill Self and what Norm Roberts had to say to the media today. We'll get to that coming up. tournament coverage brought to you by Lewis Toyota here in the capital city. Shop local, shop Lewis here at I-470 and Fairlawn. Norm Roberts met with the media today. Not Bill Self. He is there. Here's what Norm Roberts had to say about Bill Self's health.
He's doing well. Today was at practice. Today was at practice last night in all of our meetings. He's doing well. He's getting better all the time. We're hopeful, and everything is day to day with him. But he if you ask our guys, he got after him pretty good today. So he was doing really well.
KU plays at 1:00 tomorrow. We'll hear from the Howard contingent coming up tomorrow. But I just don't see Self coaching tomorrow. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you.
I think the first time he meets with the media will be Friday at 1:30. That's going to be my guess. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to lean to that. 1:30. That's the time frame, I believe, when the KU coaching staff meets on Friday.
As long as they're the first game on Saturday.
No, it says winter game 1 Friday. Time slot. Yeah, yeah. They go by
their schedule's annoying.
The schedule goes by the Thursday game. So that's what I am going to go with. What about Grady Dick and Kevin McCullough? Their health.
Oh, both guys practiced full speed today and had great bounce to them, so they're both doing well.
Kevin McCullough, according to several of the reporters there, says he is good to go. It feels completely past the back spasms that bothered him last week. That's a great sign for KU. They need Kevin McCullough. I'll say this right now: if they don't have a full go, they got to be full go to beat Arkansas or Illinois. They do, especially Arkansas. I think they probably beat Illinois pretty easily.
No faith in the Illini?
No, the Illini are not. They're 50th in offense, 30th in defense, according to the advanced numbers. No, at middle of the road. Arkansas, a little bit different. That's a tougher matchup. That team at times can go. I'm going to go with, you need to be rooting on the Illini, which
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
There's 6 spots different in the Ken Palm offense, and there's a much bigger gap. On defense.
Huge.
Well, yeah, 32 to 15.
Well, and the way they just play is completely different. Yeah. That's why I look at, you want Illinois to win. Yeah. And I also want Illinois to win because then you've got Brendan's childhood team that he cheered for going up against the school that he went to.
Emotionally, Brendan will be conflicted.
It's been absolute a wreck. So apparently I'm cheering for that. But I'm more so...
Man, you're cheering for some weird things.
No, what I'm cheering for is I don't want KU to lose. I want KU to win, and I think Arkansas has a better chance of beating them.
That's fair.
So, go Brad Underwood. Team Brad Underwood. And I want K-State to win in the second round, and I think they would beat Providence. What's Providence ranked? Are they?
Let's take a look at our good friends at Providence.
They are 44th. There you go. 44th.
45th.
Oh, I was looking at Nevada.
Yeah, 45th. They are 16th in offense. That's very good.
Yep.
They're 107th in defense. That's not very good.
No, that's why I want K-State to beat or K-State take on Providence.
Meanwhile, our friends at Kentucky are 28th in Ken Palm.
Yep.
14th in offense, 75th in defense.
Yep. Coming up next, Juju Smith-Schuster, not a Chief. We'll get to that next. to New England. 3 years. Same contract as Jacoby Myers. By the way, Jacoby Myers just tweets out cold world, laugh out loud, because it looks like Jacoby wanted to stay in New England.
And New England openly with that contract, they openly said, we just want Juju more than you.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
It was not about money for why Jacoby left New England. It was just they didn't want him. Which that just sometimes doesn't feel good. Just doesn't feel good, man.
So it's basically 2 years, $22 million. That's what Juju's got to be wondering about the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Did the Chiefs really want Juju? Now, we were told by Brett Veach at the combine that he wants everybody back. Like,
yeah.
In fact, hold on a second. Is this the cut? Here is what Brett Veach had to say at the combine.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely difficult. I think you just got to be buttoned up on your free agency plan. I don't think you can go in there and have, a set of A, B, C, D. I mean, you have to just, have a plan, stick to it, and knock it out of the park. And if the plan doesn't work, you got to move on quickly. And I just think the level of communication that we have with our coaching staff, because, I mean, you do obviously have to hit on the draft. And, when you have the rapport that we have with my staff and our coaching staff, I think it helps in that process because, the scheme and the vision and the fit, I mean, we're all on the same page. And I just think the fact that Coach and I have worked together for so long and even Coach Spags and I have been together for a long time now, I think that continuity is something that has really helped us.
I wonder if they just thought, you know what, we got 1 year out of him. We don't know if his knees are going to hold up. Because to me, 3 years, $22 million, 2 for 11, that's the MVS deal. Or would you not? And because this is what he signed for. So the Chiefs clearly did not offer this contract. Because who would you rather play with? Mac Jones and the Chiefs, or Mac Jones and the Patriots, or Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
You're playing with the Chiefs.
So they did not. They said that is too much.
I would say so. And honestly, the Chiefs had replaced their top wide receiver last year, and it worked out fine.
The difference is that they got a first, fourth. I mean, they saved a bunch of money.
You got something by letting him walk, but I think the idea still holds of, is he worth the value you'd have to pay? Like, the principle is the exact same. We didn't want to keep Tyreek Hill for the money we'd have to pay. It would not work with our long-term plan. And I guess Juju at that value is not what the Chiefs wanted. And so now, we said it before with when, the Chiefs passed Orlando Brown, ended up adding Jawan Taylor. We were like, when Brett passed on Orlando, it was, he had a plan. We have to think they have a plan. It's the exact same thing. The Chiefs have earned the benefit of the doubt. All of their moves, especially even the ones that are letting someone walk, seem to have a purpose behind them. It's not just the Chiefs being cheap. They're just being hyper selective on where their money is spent, which is what they have to do with their contract situations. Because yes, you can free up a bunch of space by converting Mahomes' roster bonus into a signing bonus and all that. You can, but then it also increases cap hits down the line. And so the more years you don't have to trigger that clause, the better. That is truly a break glass in case of emergency thing.
So what is it? Do you feel comfortable with Kadarius Toney being your number one wide receiver? I don't because I don't think he's going to be healthy enough.
Yeah, and that's fair.
I don't. I think you need somebody above Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
Is Kadarius Toney a very good number 2? I think so. Is MVS a very good number 3? Yes. Do I think Sky Moore's a good number 4? You bet. Because they go down a peg every single time because Travis Kelce won. TBD next, then Toney. If Toney and MVS are 3 and 4 and Sky Moore at 5, is your passing targets, I'm all right with that. I just think that they need somebody else, and maybe it's another rookie wide receiver. But the problem with rookie wide receivers are in the Chiefs systems, they don't normally thrive.
Yeah,
they just don't. And so I don't know. Is DJ Shark do? Is he going to be out there? Is a trade for D-Hop going to be out there? Like I'm trying to think of what other free agent wide receivers.
DJ Shark's out there. You can maybe trade for D-Hop. Adam Thielen is still out there. Jarvis Landry is still out there. Odell is technically still out there. Like, there are guys on the market, and maybe the route is you go for someone and bring them out on a Juju-like deal, which is 1 year, low base, and incentives make it more profitable.
Who is that guy?
Or Odell, depending on his market, is quite literally that guy.
Yeah.
Like, unless the Jets want to pay him a bunch up front, which they might if Aaron Rodgers wants him because the Jets are selling the whole soul of their franchise for this whole thing, then sure. But a guy like Odell, a guy even kind of like Adam Thielen, a guy like Jarvis Landry are perfect targets for 1 year incentive-laden deals to try and get one last bag. Like, they are perfect prime examples. Odell, if in a more natural world, is the perfect target for that. Because he hasn't played football in a year. You don't know what he's going to be. Anyone that would give Odell Beckham Jr. right now a long-term contract is crazy. Because you don't know what he's going to be like off of another ACL injury. So, like, that's why, like, you know, we talk about money, and so you think, you know, me saying, you know, oh, the Chiefs are going to pay for a wide receiver. Why would they get Odell? Because there's the chance Odell would take a deal like Juju's was. I don't know if he would. I don't know what the market's going to be for him because it's a complex situation. But there are veteran wide receivers out there who you could say, I'll give you 1 year, low base salary, but I'll give you a lot of incentives to where if you pop off, you're going to get paid.
I would hope
that's on the board.
I would hope that you would not take 1 deer.
1 year.
I like deer. Very
deer
tasty.
is delicious.
Plus, deer jerky.
Deer jerky, one of the greatest things on this planet.
That's expensive.
That is expensive. Regular beef jerky, expensive. Deer jerky, oh boy.
To get that, you know, manufactured made,
that
ain't no joke. So,
man, I want some deer jerky now.
I do. If there's one thing in this world that I would change, I would somehow make the beef jerky, deer jerky cheaper.
Yeah, I'd find a way to like subsidize the process so that way their costs are lower.
Yeah, like big jerky needs to be cheaper.
Yeah. I'd find a way to make big jerky cheaper so that way I could buy more beef jerky.
I love
beef jerky. It just costs me an arm and a leg to get it every time.
Do you remember when we went to the Big 12 media days?
You and Dan got all that jerky and brought me back none.
Yes, we did.
No, you didn't. You let me try pieces that you had. None of you brought me back a bag. Neither of you brought me back a bag.
No, that's facts. That is facts.
I got to try, and I was very appreciative that you shared some with me. But I said politely, hey, Jake or Dan, could you guys bring me back a bag of beef jerky? I love beef jerky, and apparently you guys are swimming in it over there. I just brought back nothing. These are just factual statements.
I know. That was damn good, too. It was good. Coming up next, we'll finish things off with the mic drop. It's one of the best days in all of sports.
Yeah, it is.
First game out of the gate, West Virginia. They're going to take care
Mountaineers
of business.
over the Terps.
Yep. They're going to kick that turtle down the road.
Don't actually kick turtles, though. They're very
Unless,
sweet creatures.
is the Terp a snapping turtle?
I don't know what officially the terrapin is, or if a
'Cause-
terrapin is reference to a specific kind of turtle. I don't know that.
Have you ever ran across a snapping turtle?
I've not ran across a snapping turtle. I hear that they're very mean.
Don't mess with a snapping turtle.
Still, don't kick turtles, though.
Don't, if it's a snapping turtle,
Yeah,
don't
stay
get
away
near
from the
it.
snapping turtle.
That thing will, don't do that. Oh my goodness. Those things are, Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
All right. What do you got?
I'm excited that Charles Omenihu is the chief. I think that's going to be very fun going forward for this team.
Mine, Bill Self didn't meet with the media today, but Grady Dick and McCullough are healthy. That's positive. We'll see if he coaches tomorrow. I just don't think it's going to happen. We'll wait and see. Coming up next, Dan and Brandon have you from 580 Sports Talk from Des Moines. We'll get to them coming up next year on 580 WIBW.